Hi guys! So, I wanted to talk a little bit today about my participation in One Book July. So if you've been around here for any length of time, you will know that I attempted One Book July last year and then promptly quit it. I went in with the best of intentions and it just didn't quite work out the way that I'd hoped. So I am giving it another go this year, and I'm kind of going in with different intentions, I think. So I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what my setup for One Book July is and kind of go through what my planning system is and stuff like that, because a lot of my planning will actually not be taking place in this book. So let's dive into it. Let's do the book first, then we'll talk about the planning system. So what is going to be going on in this book? So this is my Midori Traveler's Notebook. It's a regular size in brown. And basically what's in here is just one insert. So I think that I showed these notebooks in my Midori Passport video when I was talking about the setup I was using in the full size. But these are just A5 Fabriano notebooks that are cut down to, this one's cut down to 11 centimeters wide. So roughly 4 1/3 inches. So I really like them. They come in blank, so you can see it's blank pages. I get them from my local art supply store, and the paper is very, it's fountain pen friendly, it's also pencil friendly, it's great for just about anything. So I really like these notebooks a lot, and I will hope to do a full review on them sometime soon. But for now, let's just say that I really like them. So I just had this one cut down the other day specifically for this month. So this was a blank, fresh notebook. I just started it yesterday. I decided to go ahead and get a start early. But basically what this book is going to be for is just what I'm calling my journaling and then my project stuff. So the journaling just kind of looks a little bit like this. It's basically just bullet point journaling, the big important things about the day, and then maybe one to do for each day. So it's mostly just the things that I think, if I looked back at the end of the week, or if I looked back, at the end of the month and wanted to say, what did I do this month? These are kind of the highlights of each day. Not a lot, just enough to help me remember what I did. So that's what's going to be in here, working from the front of the notebook towards the back. And then because it's a blank notebook, the nice thing is that I can also rotate around to the back and use the back towards the front as kind of almost like a second notebook. And then just wherever they meet in the middle, when they meet, then I'll be done and I'll get a new notebook. So basically in the back of the notebook is where I'm going to be doing some project planning. So this I just wrote down to get some notes down in here, and I'll come back to these later. But then the other project planning that I'm going to be doing in here, because a big part of One Book July this year is that it can also, if you kind of have your book set up, down and ready, instead you can just take on a project and work on a single project for the month. So I'm also doing that part of it. So my big project that I'm working on is this tutorial series that I'm going to be doing for my knitting channel. And I will link to my knitting channel down in the description just if you're curious. But right now it's mostly just weekly podcasts about sock knitting. So over the course of this month, I really want to chart out and record a series of videos talking about the process of making your very first sock. So, the first video is going to be all about getting your materials, how to choose what yarn, how to choose what needles, etc., and then going on from there. So that's what I'm going to be working on in the back of the notebook, is the notes for these videos and sort of the production of these videos. So before I go ahead and close up this notebook, let's talk a little bit about the rest of my book part of my One Book July. So like I said, the book part is the Midori Traveler's Notebook and this single insert. The pen that I'm using, I'm going to do the one pen, and I'm going to be sticking to the Sakura Pigma Micron, the 05 in black, because I really like these pens, and this way I just don't have to really think about it. They just work, and I really enjoy them, and I don't have to fuss around with fountain pens or pencils or anything. So this is what I will be using for the month. And then, like I said, the project is the first sock series. So my goals in terms of what I'm hoping that this setup will help me achieve is sticking with a simple setup. I talked a little bit about this in my last Midori video for the passport size, and then also in the blog post that I did talking about the standard size. I really like this setup. I find the size to be really great, But, I switched the passport size when we went on vacation, and that was great, but it really kind of threw me for a loop. Because, then I got out of the system, and then I just had a really hard time getting back into my groove. So I really need this month to just force me to stick with this setup and just keep it easy, keep it simple. I also want to obviously get through that, sock series project. And then I still want to work on zoning in on the system. When I had been in this size before, I was also doing some of my planning in here, and I'm trying to not do that in here. I mostly just want this to be something that I write in after things happen, not before. So I'm working on that system. So that's my goals for the month. Mostly just keep it simple and figure out the system. So that's the book part of it. So now let's talk a little bit about how I actually do planning, because I know a lot of people who are doing One Book July, they are people who do a lot of planning. And like I said, I'm not doing that in there. It's entirely after the fact stuff. So all of my planning actually happens for the most part digitally. And I can go ahead and show you guys. Okay, so this is my phone. This is where the magic happens. And my camera is having a hard time kind of focusing on my phone, I think because the screen is too bright and because it's getting, it's about 7 o'clock p.m. here, so it's getting a little bit darker. So we're gonna work on this. I'm hoping it will be focused enough that you guys can go ahead and see what's happening. And I'm gonna go ahead and put it in airplane mode because that when I am... You just know when I am trying to record a video, that's when someone's going to call me. So this way no one can call me and bug me. Okay, so this is my phone. I have a Samsung Galaxy S5, but that's, secondary. Let's talk a little bit about how this process works. Maybe I can tilt the phone up so that it's facing the camera straight on, and then maybe that will help me to focus on it. All right, I think that should be okay, or good enough at least, that you guys can kind of see what's going on. All right, so basically, I'm gonna take you through how I do things on my phone. So what I have on my kind of home screen is I have my pedometer, which is just because I used to wear one on my wrist, and I don't do that anymore, so this is just an easy way to keep track of my steps every day, since I always have my phone with me. And then the rest of the screen is taken up by a note, and this is basically just a note that I have in my notes app. It's just the stock notes app that just junk goes into. So if I open up this note, this is what I do if I have a thought in my head and I just need to get it out of my head so that I don't think about it. So I have a couple of codes that I need to remember that I don't use very much, like the hot food is for the hot food bar at the grocery store. This little chunk here is kind of like to-dos, like things that I need to get done. These then are just also sort of to-dos / thoughts / things to look into later. So if you're a big fan of the getting things done system, this is kind of like an inbox, except that it doesn't capture everything. I kind of filter things before they go on here, but this is just to capture stuff when I'm on the go. So then that's it for my first page. And then on my second page is where I have the rest of my planning. So I'll talk a little bit about these in just a second, but this app it's the Google Calendar app, and I use Google Calendar for everything. It basically is used for both my work and for my personal life. My personal life is pretty much just things on here that you see that are purple. Those are bills that are due, so I have the bills in here, and that way I have it set to remind me a couple days ahead of time so that I remember to pay the bill. And that's just really great because then I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about oh, did I check my planner? Did I whatever? I just know that my phone will remind me and I don't have to worry about it. And then things that you see that are kind of this to me, they're kind of salmon colored, but it's showing up a little bit different color on screen. These are just reminding me to water my plants because I am really bad at it otherwise. So then everything else in here is for my work. And basically these are just a series of, events in there that I have to do during the workday, and they all have pop-up reminders. And for the most part, the work stuff, I keep the Google Calendar for my work account open on my screen at work, and that way these pop-ups mostly come up on the screen. And they just remind me like, oh, hey, you have this thing scheduled to be done right now, or oh, hey, you have to go to class in half an hour. Stuff like that. So this is where all of my real planning has been happening. And it's to the point where, so like I said, I put bills in here. So this would be this was the day that our water bill was due. So as soon as I get the bill itself, I also put in the amount. And then, so that way when I go to pay it online, I don't have to have the bill there with me. I just look in my phone and I say, oh, the water bill was $78.53. Okay, I can pay it right now. And then because I pay them a couple days ahead of time, like the water bill and stuff I have set to remind me 5 days ahead of time, because that way, even if it's like on a weekend, like if the reminder falls on a weekend, I still have plenty of time to pay it and have the payment get in on time. So because I pay it ahead of time, then as soon as I pay it, I just mark it as paid. And that way, on the day that it actually comes up, I can look at it and be like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. I already paid it. No worries. And then these are just like, this is what my work calendar looks like. So this is telling me like when I have to do a particular thing, or like when I have to go to class and when I have to do some other stuff. So that's pretty much how I plan. Oh, and then I mentioned that I was going to talk about these. So those are little widgets for this. Oh, and you can see my face now because it's a black screen, and there's my camera. Hi. Anyway, so this is my habit tracker, which I know a lot of people do like in a bullet journal or something. I'd much rather do it digitally because, again, I can set it to remind me to do things. So these are just some habits that I'm trying to cultivate every day. So things like making the bed, making sure I exercise, eating at home all day, no spend days, which I am the worst at, flossing, stuff like that. So some of these are set to remind me, like the making my bed, it reminds me every day at 7 o'clock in the morning to make my bed. The journaling, that's basically just making sure I filled out stuff in here. That's set to remind me every night at 9, stuff like that. But it's just a good way to kind of keep track of the habits that I want to cultivate. And so then on the front screen are just a couple of widgets for ones that I maybe want to like see more often. So like the juggling. Oh, I actually did that today. The juggling is something that I do when I'm at work in some free time because I have a set of juggling balls there. So it's kind of nice to see it on the screen so that I'm like, oh, what should I do? Oh, I should get in my juggling for the day. Stuff like that. So yeah, that is my planning system. It's not very intense or involved because I don't have kids or a family or anything, so it's pretty much just me and then kind of sort of Wesley, I guess, although he kind of, does his own stuff. And really my job is very like I go to work and then I do things at work. I have my work calendar, but that's all at work. And it's basically just as long as I get the stuff done that I have to get done for the day, I'm fine. I don't have a lot of meetings, and especially right now during the summer, I'm not teaching. So my appointments are very low, but my tasks are a little bit higher. So yeah, that's my planning system right now. That's what I'm going to stick with for One Book July, and I'm going to try and hopefully do another update video, of course, assuming that I stick with this. I'll try and do another video towards the middle of the month and then another one at the end, kind of letting you guys know how it goes. And hopefully I'll have, some pages filled in this journaling notebook, and I can really kind of show you what kind of things I'm recording versus what kind of things I'm not. But yeah, that's about it for me today. Let me know if you guys are doing One Book July, if you have posted like a setup video or something here on YouTube. Let me know in the comments. I really enjoy watching them, and I think it's very interesting how people kind of approach One Book July, and I'd love to see how other people are doing it. But yeah, that's going to be it for right now, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!